Today, scrolling through the news feed, we see how natural disasters are increasing around the world. But if we look around, it may seem to us that cataclysms occurring in other countries or on other continents do not concern us because they are so far away. However, the reality is just the opposite. Our planet has entered a phase of instability and anomalies. While one part of the planet is drowning, another one is dying from droughts. Drought is about to become the next pandemic, and there is no vaccine to cure it. Most of the world will be living with water stress in the next few years. Demand will outstrip supply during certain periods, said Mami Mitsutori, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative for Disaster Risk Reduction. Shortage of drinking water is not even a catastrophe, it is death. This year, 2021, marked the first water shortage in the Colorado River, which provides water to about 40 million people in the western United States and more than 10,000 square miles of farmland. The Colorado River feeds two major reservoirs, Lake Mead and Lake Powell. Its water level has dropped to its lowest level on record. This year alone, drought and water shortages have significantly changed the usual human life on almost all continents. The effects of drought are already directly affecting many people and are getting worse. Food shortages, a spike in commodity prices. Has this already affected you? Or are you still not seeing this? The dry summer of 2021 in Kazakhstan led to an overall decrease in yields and livestock deaths. In 2020, Kazakhstan exported about 8 million tons of grain to 40 countries, but the forecast of grain exports for 2021 has decreased by almost 30%, down to about 6 million tons. According to the president of Kazakhstan, the declining wheat harvest in several regions of Kazakhstan will jeopardize food security in the Central Asian region by 2030. This is a simple, practical example that the fight against climate change is our common cause. Shallowing of waterways in Argentina is already causing supply disruptions. Brazil is the largest exporter of soybeans, coffee, and sugar, and the second largest supplier of corn and iron ore. A drought in that country is exacerbating the crisis in the global supply chains for these commodities and raw materials. The familiar aromatic Brazilian coffee is becoming more expensive and has already become a scarce commodity. These are just a few examples amongst many. In the world, all supplies are links of one global chain. A breakdown in one of them poses a threat to the supply chain around the world. What awaits us? The permafrost melting threatens to have equally devastating consequences for millions of people living in the coldest regions of the planet. This problem will affect over 70% of the infrastructure in the polar cities of Russia, Canada, and the United States. And these processes can no longer be stopped regardless of future measures established by the Paris Agreements. According to the estimations made by scientists at the Russian Institute of the Earth's Cryosphere, the boundary of the permafrost zone has moved more than 30 kilometers to the north over the past 40 years. According to Dmitry Drozdov, director of the institute, this process is irreversible and it is impossible to stop it. Houses in permafrost land are installed exactly on 8-meter-long adfreeze piles. We have a thawing of up to 5 meters deep everywhere, so we are only 3 meters away from the critical point, said the director of the Environmental Education Center. Where are people supposed to go? After heavy rains and flooding of crops in the major vegetable province of Shandong, the cost of vegetables in the Chinese capital has risen sharply by almost 40% in just 1 month. In the opinion of China's popular microblog Weibo users, vegetables are now more expensive than the country's staple meat, pork. The sunny state of Texas appeared to be unprepared for the drastic changes in temperatures during the winter of 2021. In this typically warm southern state, the temperature dropped to minus 18 degrees Celsius. Due to high demand for indoor heating, the entire energy system failed, freezing in their own homes. Many people were forced to stay warm in their cars and cook food using candles.
Look at that water. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it at all. Look.
Because the pipes had burst from the frost, there were problems with the water supply, making people wait in line for hours to get drinking water.
My house has still water frozen, all the pipes are frozen, and I have 6 children to take care of.
The electricity crisis set in motion a chain of consequences that led to a humanitarian catastrophe. People were not prepared to face such abnormal conditions. There was no electricity for 3 days, no water for 3 days. I didn't have food for 60 hours, and I felt very bad. The residents of Texas could not have imagined that tomorrow they would be on the brink of survival.
Everything's flooded.
Today, climate anomalies are occurring all over the planet. Anyone can become trapped. That's what happened to the residents of the Chinese city of Zhengzhou in July 2021. As they stepped into the subway car, people had no idea what a nightmare this trip would turn out to be for them. And some of them would never come home to their loved ones again. Due to abnormal precipitation, a third of the annual rainfall fell within just 1 hour. Subway tunnels were flooded by the flash flood. Subway cars were blocked, and one of them ended up being submerged in water. I was very scared, but the most frightening thing was not the water, but the decreasing air supply in the car, said one of the subway passengers. Global climate change has already caused food shortages around the world, and the situation is worsening catastrophically. Will we have anything to eat and drink tomorrow? More than 1,140,000 people in Madagascar are desperately trying to survive the famine due to the drought.
We cut them like this, but this one can't be cut. It's as hard as a tree. Today we have absolutely nothing to eat except cactus leaves.
Dahil
Hungry, homeless, and desperate people literally pounce on arriving humanitarian aid trucks that carry basic necessities and food. They snatch the bags from one another. Confrontations erupt, leading to fistfights. Even today, natural disasters are dramatically changing people's fates. A person finds himself alone with his grief. And the facts confirm this. Where should people caught in the epicenter of natural disasters go? After all, their losses from the raging disasters are incalculable. The consequences of climate change will not spare any of us. In the end, people may lose the most precious thing they have: life. Tomorrow, you may be faced with the question, how can I survive? Natural disasters take us off guard, and as a consumer society, we are failing to cope with that. And this is our reality. But we still have our only chance to survive, and that is to build the creative society. What kind of society we choose, such will be our future. And today, this choice depends on each and every one of us.
In this video, we had to change some words and expressions using milder terms. But we hope that the severity of the problems looming over our society will still be evident. In the 21st century, human civilization boasts about its high level of intellectual development and incredible technological achievements. At the same time, at least half the world's population do not receive the health service they need. 8 million deaths occur every year as a result of poor quality of medical care. Healthcare costs are so high that they drive about 100 million people into extreme poverty each year. Living below the poverty line leads to an increase in child labor. Nearly 1 child out of every 10 is forced to work. Often, this work involves hazardous machinery and poisonous fumes. The list of products produced by child slave labor includes gold and precious stones, coffee, cocoa, rice, baby products, and clothing. According to UN statistics alone, more than 40 million people are victims of modern slavery. Forced labor, child labor, forced marriage, debt bondage, human trafficking for illegal exploitation, and recruitment of children for armed conflict. In the consumeristic format of society, people have already surpassed wild animals in terms of cruelty. More and more often, children are used as live bombs. In Nigeria, criminals put an explosive on a girl with a baby in her arms. After years of warfare, the economic crisis and drought have caused famine in Afghanistan. There is a well-known case where a mother was forced to sell her little daughter for 400 euros to feed her other children. Today, more than 41 million people are one step to death from starvation, and about 811 million people are starving. Meanwhile, every year, more than 1 billion tons of food are thrown away, and unsold goods, including those produced by means of slave labor, are destroyed. The absurdity of consumer society is that a human himself has become a commodity. Annual income from human trafficking worldwide is $150 billion, which is the largest source of illicit profit in the world. There are 534 human trafficking flows registered in 148 countries. The number of detected child victims had tripled over the last 15 years. Victims of traffickers are mainly migrants and jobless people, as they are the most vulnerable. International treaties proclaim goals of ending poverty and slavery. But in the context of a mass consumption economy, the whole system is designed to protect private capital. In the consumerist format of society, money is more valuable than human life. Worldwide, more than 2 million children a year become victims of trafficking for all kinds of exploitation. In Mexico, 25% of all women who are victims of trafficking are girls under 18.
Please help. My husband threatens me. He beats me. He forces me to have sex with his friends who come here so he can make money. They started beating me, pouring alcohol on me, making me drink, pointing a gun at me, saying they would kill me and no one would ask about me, no one would know where I was. And they opened the window and said, "Jump or we will shoot you in the head."
And did you jump?
Yes.
From which floor?
I think it was the 5th floor.
In the consumerist format of society, people are ready to kill each other to satisfy ambitions for fun and profit. Illicit trafficking of human organs worldwide is estimated at $600 million a year. According to WHO statistics, 10,000 human organs are illegally transplanted every year. In Nigeria, special baby factories are set up on a massive scale where children are bred like a livestock. Teenage girls are forcibly impregnated and coerced to bear their life commodity for sale.
But most of them are pregnant teenagers. They were held captive for one purpose, to force them to give birth. The kidnappers were making money on selling the babies. I got a call at 6 a.m. this morning saying that there were kidnappers at the school, that all our children had been kidnapped, including my daughter. We rushed there. It was confirmed that they had all been captured.
Are we human civilization if human life has no value on this planet? To change this, we all need to stop supporting the consumeristic format of society and unite in a common goal: to build the creative society.